I never thought a wooden chest could feel like a slap in the face. That night, when I finally opened the basement corner I'd avoided for decades, I realized I hadn't just been ignoring a piece of furniture. I had been avoiding the truth about my own family. The chest sat there, dusty, heavy, and impossibly still, like it had been waiting for me to screw up my courage. My initials were carved into its lid in my own shaky hand from years ago. Seeing them made my hands tremble. Why did they keep it hidden? Why did no one tell me? It was late, the kind of night where the wind rattles windows like someone knocking desperately, and the old house groaned under its own weight. I could hear the distant hum of the refrigerator upstairs, the drip of the leaky faucet in the kitchen. But down here in the basement, the air was thick, almost sweet with the scent of aged wood, and something metallic that made my stomach twist. I touched the lid, cold, smooth. I could feel the years press against my fingers, memories I didn't know I had buried along with it. I remember the first time I stepped into this basement as a young mother, hoping for a quiet corner to fold laundry. The room smelled like cement and dust, and the light bulb flickered as though it couldn't decide whether to illuminate or stay in darkness. I had been restless, carrying more questions than answers about the family I thought I knew. Now, decades later, it was the same corner, same flicker of the bulb, only heavier with secrets. Mom, are you down there again? My youngest Lily had knocked softly on the stairs. Her voice startled me, but I didn't speak. I wasn't ready for anyone to hear me yet. Not Lily, not Thomas, not even Sam. The children had their own lives now, their own worries. They didn't need me unraveling like a spool of old thread in front of them. You okay? Lily whispered, creeping a step down. I could see her shadow stretch long against the walls, the soft curl of her hair catching the light. I nodded slowly, though she wouldn't see it. I wanted her to believe I was fine, to leave me alone to wrestle with whatever I was about to face. I knelt in front of the chest, brushing decades of dust into the air, watching it dance in the weak glow. My heart pounded. I remembered carving my initials there one restless night when Sam, my eldest, had just turned 12. I had meant it to be a secret treasure, a capsule of my own life before my children's troubles began. But over the years, it became more than that. It became a symbol of trust, of hope, of the quiet dreams I'd held when my family was young. And somehow, somewhere along the way, it had turned into a record of betrayal. A grandma? Lily's voice was closer now, soft, unsure. I swallowed. Just a minute. I called out, my own voice sounding strange to me, rusty and foreign. The chest felt heavier than it looked. My fingers shook as I lifted the lid. Inside there were letters, countless letters tied in yellowed ribbons, brittle at the edges. There was a small velvet pouch containing coins I didn't recognize, and at the bottom, an envelope with my name in looping script. My hands were trembling so badly I thought I might drop everything. I opened the envelope. The paper inside smelled faintly of smoke and old roses. The handwriting was familiar and foreign all at once, my own handwriting, but from years ago, from a time before I realized my family could hide from me in ways I didn't even know existed. The letter began with apologies I didn't know needed to be made, confessions I wasn't sure I wanted to read. And then the truth hit me. The reason my family betrayed me wasn't something I had imagined. It was real. Painful, shattering. I sank to the cold basement floor, cradling the letter. The words blurred as tears came without warning. I remembered that night like it was yesterday. The night Sam ran out of the house, angry, furious, the sound of the screen door slamming echoing in my chest. I had chased him, of course, calling his name into the dark street, but he never looked back. That night had been a fracture I'd spent a lifetime trying to mend. And now, decades later, I held the evidence of why. I don't understand, I whispered to the empty basement. And then Lily's voice, Grandma? She had climbed another step. Are you crying? I drew in a shaky breath and smiled faintly. Yes, baby, I am. I wanted her to know that tears don't always mean weakness. Sometimes they mean survival. Sometimes they mean finally seeing the truth. I thought back to the early days with Thomas, the middle one. He had been gentle, the kind of boy who asked 1,000 questions and never got bored of the answers. I could see him now, standing over me with that same worried expression he had as a child, asking for explanations, for comfort I wasn't ready to give. I remembered the dinners where smiles masked frustration, where laughter covered small betrayals that no one would ever speak of again. And now, in the basement, decades later, it all converged into a moment so raw, I felt like I could barely breathe. The letters told stories I'd long suspected but never confirmed. Sam had hidden debts, mistakes he thought I wouldn't understand, secrets he thought I should never find. Thomas had tried to shield me, cover up small betrayals in the name of love. Even Lily, so innocent, so young when this all began, had kept things from me out of fear of shattering our fragile family peace. And here I was, finally holding the proof that none of us had been perfect, none of us had been honest, and yet somehow the love persisted. I ran my hands over the chest again. The wood was warm beneath my fingers now, almost pulsing with memory. I could feel Sam's anger, Thomas's guilt, Lily's worry, all trapped in the space where my initials were carved. I realized then that this chest wasn't just a container of secrets. It was a container of us. Every betrayal, every lie, every desperate attempt to protect one another had been preserved here, waiting for me to understand it fully. A grandma? Lily's voice was softer now, almost reverent. She had stepped fully into the basement, her small hand brushing against mine. I felt a surge of love and sorrow all at once. "I'm okay, baby," I said, although my voice shook. I found something I needed to see." She nodded as if she understood more than I thought she could, and maybe she did. Maybe children sense things adults try to hide. Maybe she already knew that families are complicated, messy, and fragile, and yet somehow unbreakable. I leaned back against the wall, cradling the chest on my lap. The air smelled of dust and memory, and I could hear the faint echo of the wind outside, as though the house itself was listening to the story that had finally unfolded. I began to speak, softly, more to myself than anyone else. "We all make mistakes," I said. "We all hurt each other in ways we don't mean. But we also forgive. We also survive. And we love, even when it's hard, even when it's painful, even when the truth scares us." And the basement felt alive now, filled with ghosts of the past and the warmth of the present. I traced the letters with my fingers, reading snippets aloud. Apologies, regrets, confessions. Each word was a reminder of who we were and who we could be. I realized that holding this chest, opening it, wasn't just about uncovering betrayal. It was about reclaiming our story. About finally telling the truth without fear. And somewhere in the corner of the basement, beneath the flickering bulb and the scent of old wood, I felt a shift. The weight of decades lifted slightly from my shoulders. I would need to confront Sam, Thomas, Lily. I would need to speak the words that had been trapped inside me for so long. But for the first time in years, I felt ready. The chest was no longer a burden. It was a key to understanding, to reconciliation, to love that had never truly faded. I whispered to myself, "It's time." And for the first time in decades, I didn't feel afraid. I carried the chest upstairs the next morning, the weight of it like a promise I couldn't ignore. The stairs creaked under its bulk, and I thought of every step I had ever taken in that house, the silent agreements, the whispered arguments, the nights I lay awake, wondering if my children loved me as much as I loved them. Now, each step was heavier, not with dust or age, but with truth. In the kitchen, the sunlight fell through the windows, soft and warm, highlighting the floral wallpaper that had faded over the years. I set the chest on the old oak table, its surface scarred from years of homework, spilled milk, and hurried breakfasts. Voila. The house smelled faintly of coffee, cinnamon, and the faint tang of something metallic. Maybe the chest, maybe my nerves. Sam walked in first. His face, older now, hardened by life and mistakes, froze when he saw the chest. Mom." His voice carried the same sharp edge it had when he was 12, running from me in the dark. But now there was something else in it, a tremor of fear, maybe guilt. "I found it," I said simply, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's yours and Thomas's and Lily's too, in a way." Thomas appeared next, rubbing his eyes like he had just woken from a dream he didn't want to remember. Mom, is that?" His voice trailed off as he took in the sight of the chest. Lily, quiet as always, lingered by the doorway. Her gaze was sharp, curious, cautious. "Grandma?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Yes, baby. It's time we talked." The air in the kitchen thickened. I could hear the soft tick of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the faint creak of the floorboards beneath our feet. I opened the chest slowly, letting them see the letters, the coins, the envelope with my name. Their eyes widened. Sam's jaw tightened. Thomas's shoulders slumped. Lily's small hand reached out, brushing against the letters. "You hid this from me?" I asked, looking at Sam first. His eyes darted away, guilt written in every line on his face. Yeah, I thought I was protecting you, he said finally, voice rough. I didn't want you to worry. I thought maybe it was better if you didn't know. I felt a surge of anger, sharp and immediate, but I swallowed it down. I had waited too long for this moment to lose control now. But protecting me? Here. Yeah. Sam, you lied. You betrayed my trust. You carried secrets in your hands while I was living in the dark. Thomas spoke next, voice quieter but heavy with remorse. Mom, I knew some of it. I tried to stop it from getting worse, but I couldn't. I didn't know how to tell you without making things worse. I looked at him, feeling both sadness and a strange pride. He had always been the peacemaker, the one trying to fix what couldn't be fixed. You tried, Thomas. That much is true. But trying isn't the same as telling. Lily's voice was trembling, soft but steady. Grandma, why didn't anyone tell me? Reason name? Her eyes were wide, the innocence of youth confronting the messy truth of adulthood. You were too young, baby, I said, reaching out to hold her hand. Some truths aren't for little ears, but now you can see that families aren't perfect. We make mistakes, we hide things, and we hurt the people we love. But we also try, in our own flawed ways, to protect each other. Sam's anger surfaced again, quick and sharp. Mom, you don't understand. I did what I thought was right. I didn't want you to see us fail. I didn't want you to see me betray myself. I interrupted softly, and my voice caught. Sam, keeping secrets doesn't protect anyone. It only builds walls, and those walls, they've been standing between us for years. The room was silent after that. Only the soft ticking of the clock and the faint hum of life around us. I could see their pain, mirrored in my own reflection in the kitchen window. We were all broken, yet together, still here. The next morning, the chest sat quietly on the kitchen table like a patient witness, almost daring us to continue. I could feel the weight of it pressing into the floorboards, and through the hum of the refrigerator and the distant chatter of birds outside, I sensed the unspoken question hanging in the air. What else had we been hiding from each other? I poured myself a cup of tea and inhaled its faint bitterness. The warmth spread slowly through my hands, reminding me that life, even in its most complicated moments, still offered small comforts. Sam sat across from me, arms folded, jaw tense. Thomas hovered near the counter, occasionally flipping through the letters we hadn't yet opened. Lily, ever curious, peeked over their shoulders, her eyes wide with the mix of excitement and fear only a child, or maybe the youngest of us, could hold when confronting truth. Yeah, I found something, Thomas said finally, voice low. He held up a folded letter, edges frayed and faded with time. I think this was from Dad. My hands shook. My late husband's letters had been a sanctuary for me once, pages filled with tenderness, frustration, and dreams we had shared before life went off track. But there was a tension in Thomas's voice that told me these weren't the gentle, loving words I had remembered. I took the letter from him, slowly. Are you? The paper smelled faintly of smoke and old ink, a scent that sent memories flooding back. Our laughter in the kitchen, our first fight over money, the night he left for what he called a business trip and never returned the same. I unfolded it carefully, bracing myself. The letter was not a love note. It was a confession. My husband had hidden debts, yes, but also a secret life that involved our extended family, decisions he had made that affected our children directly, and that no one had dared to tell me until now. My chest tightened. I could feel the air grow heavy, the room itself seeming to recoil from the truth. Why didn't anyone tell me this before? I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. My voice cracked, betraying the anger, the hurt, and the confusion coiled tightly in my chest. Mom, Sam started but stopped. He looked at me with something I hadn't seen for years, a mixture of fear and guilt. We thought we were protecting you. We thought if you knew, you'd, I don't know, break. I swallowed. A break? Sam, I've broken plenty of times in my life. That's not what protects anyone. What protects us is the truth even when it hurts, even when it's hard. Lily tilted her head. Grandma, what did he do? Her voice was soft, trembling but determined. I saw myself in her, the curiosity, the courage, the refusal to look away from what's difficult. I took a deep breath, holding the letter tightly between my fingers. He made choices that affected all of us, I said slowly. The choices that some of you tried to cover up. Choices that caused secrets to be buried. Sam leaned back, the tension in his body palpable. Mom, I didn't know it was that bad. I thought it was just money problems. I shook my head. It was never just money, Sam. It was trust. It was love. It was the way we fail the people we care about and then try to hide it from them, hoping nothing will break. Nothing will break. Thomas finally spoke, voice almost a whisper. Oh, Mom, there's one more thing. I didn't know how to tell you, but I found something else in the chest. Something that Sam hid from all of us. I froze. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. Something else? I asked, my voice taut. Mezzo's taut. Yes, he said. He reached into the chest and pulled out a small leather-bound book. I don't even know if we should read it, but I think you need to know. I took the book carefully, brushing my fingers over the cracked leather. It felt familiar, dangerous even, as though it had absorbed the tension of decades. I opened it and immediately recognized my own handwriting, younger, more naive, but desperate. Pages upon pages of confessions, thoughts, and reflections I had never shared with anyone. And then, at the very back, hidden beneath a fold, was a note I didn't remember writing. A note addressed to my children, but never sent. It detailed my fears, my regrets, my guilt over mistakes I had made as a mother. It revealed the small betrayals I had committed in the name of protecting them, withholding truths about their father, managing money they didn't know about, making decisions they had questioned without explanation. I read it aloud, voice shaking, feeling each word strike them as sharply as it struck me. I tried to shield you from the truth, thinking I knew best. I was wrong. I see now that in hiding, I only created more pain. One day you may understand why. One day I hope you forgive me. Sam ran a hand through his hair, visibly shaken. Imam, I never wanted to hurt you. I never. His voice faltered, choking on unshed tears. You did, Sam. But not intentionally, I said. We all hurt each other. That's the human part, the part we don't always admit. Thomas added quietly, I think. I think we're finally seeing it all. The mistakes, the secrets, and why they happened. It's messy, but maybe that's okay. Lily leaned against my shoulder, her small hand pressed to mine, pressed to mine. It's scary, but I don't think it's all bad. We're together, right? Yes, baby, I whispered, hugging her. We're together, and that's what matters most. We spent hours that day sifting through the chest's contents, confronting one revelation after another. The coins turned out to be small bribes my husband had taken to cover business mistakes. Letters from distant relatives revealed long-held grudges, misunderstandings, and manipulations that had caused ripples through our family without any of us knowing. Each discovery was another blow, another challenge to the trust we thought we had. But somehow, with each blow, we also found resilience. By evening, the sun slanted low through the windows, casting golden streaks across the table and the scattered letters. The kitchen was quiet except for our breathing, the scratching of pens, and the occasional soft sniffle. We had cried together, laughed nervously at absurdities, and spoken truths we had been holding back for decades. I looked at my children, grown, flawed, hurting, yet capable of incredible empathy, and realized that the chest had done more than reveal secrets. It had forced us to confront ourselves, our mistakes, our pride, our fear, and most importantly, it had forced us to choose honesty, finally, over comfort. I whispered, almost to myself, this is only the beginning, because it was. The chest was not just a container of betrayal, it was a mirror. A mirror reflecting our failures, our love, and the complexity of what it meant to be a family. And I knew that the next step, the step we hadn't yet taken, would bring even more revelations. Ones that could shatter what little fragile piece we had rebuilt, or solidify it forever. As I closed the leather-bound book and set it gently back in the chest, I felt the weight of decades lift slightly, replaced with a fragile, terrifying hope. We had reached the edge of truth. The next steps would be the hardest, but I was ready. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to face the heart of betrayal, stare at it, and refuse to turn away. The next morning felt different. The house was quieter, not empty, but suspended in a kind of fragile anticipation. We all moved cautiously, aware that the revelations from the chest had changed something fundamental between us. I brewed tea and set it on the table, the warmth and smell grounding me. Mom, Sam said finally, sitting down across from me. His hands gripped the edge of the table like he was holding himself together. I think it's time we talk about everything. Not just what's in the chest, but the choices, the lies, all of it. I nodded. Yes, Sam. We need to speak openly. No hiding, no sugarcoating, just honesty, even if it hurts. Amos leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I'm ready, Mom. I don't know if I can fix everything, but I need to say it aloud. Ely, small and earnest, perched on the edge of a chair. You want to understand, too. Whew. I need to know why things happened the way they did. I took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch just long enough for us to gather courage. Then I began. You'll have things we hide because we fear hurting each other. I did it when your father, and I did it with you, without realizing the weight it placed on you all. Sam's voice broke the silence. Mom, I hid things because I thought you couldn't handle it. I didn't know how to tell you about the debts, about the mistakes I made. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now I was only protecting myself from facing your disappointment. I reached out, placing my hand over his. Sam, you were a child, just like I was when I made mistakes with your father. Protection isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it's fear masquerading as love. Thomas swallowed hard. I tried to keep the peace, Mom. I thought if I covered for Sam or smoothed over problems, it would keep us safe. But it didn't, and now, I see how wrong I was. Lily's small voice trembled. I didn't know what to do, either. I kept little things from you because I thought if I told you, it would make everything worse. I didn't want our family to break apart. I held her hand tightly. A baby. That's exactly why we are here now. To break apart, maybe, just enough to rebuild. To understand that hiding things only delays the truth and delays healing. We spoke for hours, unearthing each hidden fear, each misstep, each secret act of protection or betrayal. The chest had already revealed decades of misdirection, but talking through it aloud forced us to confront what it meant in our lives. That love isn't simple, that family isn't perfect, but that the ties that bind us can endure more than we imagine. At one point, Sam leaned back, rubbing his face. I never realized, Mom, everything I thought I was protecting you from. Maybe I was the one who needed saving. His voice cracked and I felt a pang of recognition. The weight of expectation, the fear of disappointing a parent, it was a cycle I had unknowingly continued. Yes? I whispered. And now we stop the cycle. We face the truth together. That's the only way forward. Thomas nodded, exhaling slowly. I think I finally understand the choices I've made. And I see the mistakes I need to correct, not just with you, Mom, but with my own family someday. This is bigger than us. Lily, still gripping my hand, said softly, I don't want to hide anything ever again. I want to be honest, even if it's scary. Her words struck me like a bell. There it was, the next generation learning the hardest lesson of all. Honesty, even when it hurts, is the foundation of trust. I realized then that the chest, the letters, the secrets weren't just about past mistakes. They were about shaping the way we moved forward. I felt tears prick at my eyes and I brushed them away. We've learned something precious, I said. The secrets have power because they can control us, even years later. But honesty frees us. And love, despite all the mistakes, despite betrayal and fear, love is stronger than secrets. Sam wiped his eyes. I think I can forgive myself now. And I hope you can forgive me too. I do, Sam, I said. I forgive you. And Thomas, Lily. I forgive both of you too. But more importantly, I want you to forgive yourselves. None of us were perfect. Oh, but we can choose how to be from now on. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of truth settling like a fine dust over the table. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. The chest sat there quietly, now empty of its burdens, yet full of lessons. I thought about my own life, the choices I had made, the secrets I had kept, and the cost of silence. And I realized that this moment, messy, painful, and honest, was the culmination of decades of living and learning. It was the moment where pain transformed into understanding. Finally, I stood and walked to the chest. I ran my hands over the wood, feeling the grooves and knots. This chest has been our mirror, I said softly. It reflected our mistakes, our fears, our hidden selves. And now, it has also reflected our courage, our willingness to face the truth, and our love for each other. That is its final gift to us. Lily leaned against me. Grandma, can we keep it? Yes, baby, I said, smiling faintly. We'll keep it, but not to hide secrets anymore. We'll keep it to remind us of today, of honesty, and of how strong our family can be when we face the truth together. Sam and Thomas nodded silently. The room felt lighter, somehow, as though the air itself had been cleansed by our confessions and our understanding. I could see in their eyes that we were different now, not perfect, but real. That night, I tucked Lily into bed and watched her sleep. I thought about the lessons of the chest, the letters, the confessions. I realized that life isn't about avoiding betrayal or mistakes. It's about facing them, learning from them, and choosing love in spite of everything. I whispered into the darkness of her room. Remember this, baby? Secrets have power, but truth and love are stronger. Always be brave enough to face the truth and wise enough to forgive. That is how we survive. This is how we survive. That is how we live fully. Back in my own room, I sat by the window, the chest closed beside me. I could see the lights of the neighborhood flickering in the distance, and I felt a sense of completion. Not because life is ever truly complete, but because we had confronted what mattered most. I realized that the chest, the basement, the letters, they weren't just artifacts of betrayal, they were markers of our resilience. They were proof that even when families fail, when trust is broken, when secrets fester, there is a path back, messy, difficult, but real. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the years, the mistakes, and the love all swirl together. And in that moment, I knew that the story of our family, its betrayals, its heartbreaks, and its hidden truths would not define us forever. What would define us is our courage to face it together. And as I drifted to sleep, I whispered one final thought into the quiet night. We are not perfect. We never will be. But we are enough. And that is more than enough.